I haven't discussed today's topic before because it's a little bit of a political hot potato. But now that the issue is at least temporarily settled in the courts, I want to share my concerns about Alec Baldwin's shooting case. I have 3 specific reasons why I'm upset over this whole thing. Let me know if you agree or disagree. But to recap, 18 months ago, Alec Baldwin was on set filming for his movie Rust. He was practicing for a scene they were about to film when a bullet discharged from the gun he held in his hand, and it killed Halyna Hutchins, the cinematographer for the movie. However, the charges have now been dropped in court, and the crew, including Mr. Baldwin, is back to the set filming the remainder of the movie Rust. First, let's ask why Mr. Baldwin was holding a real gun with real ammunition in the first place. To look good, that's it. They're filming a make-believe movie, but in order to make it look more realistic and authentic, he was holding an actual, real weapon in his hand. But what if I was in my office parking lot, filming an Officer Andy YouTube skit, holding a real gun? What if I had a firearms expert on scene here in my office to check the gun, to verify that it was safe, that it was a cold gun, and that it couldn't hurt anyone? And what if I quickly drew that gun out of my holster, a bullet escaped from the gun, and killed someone nearby? What would happen to me, simple old Andrew Flushy? I really don't think the charges against me would simply be dropped. You might say, this is Hollywood. They want everything to be as authentic as possible, and they're experts. That just doesn't work in my opinion. That defense isn't going to work for me making YouTube videos for you guys. So why should it work for Hollywood just because they have mega budgets and big name stars on set at their films? This is why Officer Andy has a fake uniform and he has fake handcuffs, so I don't actually lock myself in my own handcuffs. And he's even got knockoff Ray-Bans because it's make-believe for YouTube. Although there was a really sweet, authentic 1970s police cruiser for sale the other day, and I really thought about how I could justify that expense. You might think, but wouldn't it look better if everything was real? Sure, authentic stuff looks really good, especially if you film it really close up. But is the danger to people's lives worth the risk, all for a movie? Lightsabers aren't real, the Hulk isn't real, and we don't need to use real guns to make it look good for a make-believe movie. Another defense for Mr. Baldwin, at least in the court of public opinion, is that he's just an actor, and as an actor, it's not his fault. This was a movie production. They had a trained, specialized armor on set, and it was her responsibility to make sure that the weapons were safe around the other people on set. I agree with that in part. If they had an armorer whose duty it was to make sure that the weapons were safe to be around people, and obviously the weapon was not safe to be around people, she bears ultimate responsibility as well. And she should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law for her wrongdoing in this death. But Baldwin was holding the gun, and that's why he's charged with involuntary manslaughter. His hand was on the gun when the bullet left the gun and killed Miss Hutchins. And lest you think that Baldwin is just some Hollywood actor who has no experience with firearms, let's take a quick look at his experience, even just in Hollywood, with actual firearms. Even if this was Baldwin's first time ever holding a gun, he should be even more careful with it to make sure it was safe. Did he personally verify that it was a cold gun? Did he rotate the chamber at all to check each round to make sure they were not live ammunition? Did he do anything to visually inspect the gun to make sure that it was not going to injure someone on scene? Or did he just rely on a paid and trained member of his staff to say this gun is safe? I am no gun expert. I'm sure some of you guys actually are. But I know the first rule of gun safety is that every gun is a loaded gun. Is Alec Baldwin a firearms expert? Not to my knowledge. Am I a firearms expert? Definitely not. Were the charges dropped for Alec Baldwin? Yep. Would similar charges be dropped for me if I killed somebody filming a YouTube skit? I doubt it. Yet Mrs. Hutchins being killed is definitely real, and Alec Baldwin was holding the real gun at the time that a real bullet killed her. And that brings us to the ultimate point in this tragedy. There seem to be 2 sets of laws in this country. There's one set for most people to follow, like you and me, us regular old peasants. And there seems to be a whole nother set for people to follow if they have money, connections, and power. No, they're not in 2 separate code books. It's not official, of course, but we all see it every day. The deep state insulates the protected class from the consequences of their decisions. It's not perfect, and they do have to sacrifice people from time to time. But make no mistake that Baldwin isn't like you and me. He killed a woman with a gun he was holding, and yet he's walking around free, back to filming that very same movie, while also lecturing the rest of us about gun control. The very childhoods of our kids interrupted by this insanity. We regulate many things in this country in the interest of public health and safety. Drugs, cars, professional licenses, etc. We need gun control reform now. And Rust is back to filming. The show must go on. But what can you do about any of this? Vote. All politics is local, and the decisions about what crimes get investigated and ultimately prosecuted are made by local people who are either elected by you or they are hired or appointed by the people that you elect. And so you need to look carefully at your elections, such as sheriff, chief of police, town council, county supervisors, whatever these local people are called in your state, in your area. You need to look carefully at these elections. And also the district attorney. In Virginia, we call it the Commonwealth attorney. These are the people who prosecute the crimes. If you've ever watched Law & Order, you understand there's the law side, the officers who investigate the crimes, and there's the order side. There's the prosecutors, the attorneys who actually prosecute the crimes. If you really want to affect how things are investigated and prosecuted, you need to be sure you're involved in those elections and know who you're voting for. If your elected officials aren't investigating and prosecuting true crime that you think is a problem in your community, vote them out of office, elect someone else. And hey, if you think your elected officials are prosecuting too much crime, you can vote them out of office too. It works both ways. What do you think about the Alec Baldwin case? Should he be prosecuted or not? Drop a comment below and let's talk about it. But as always, don't talk to the police.